are now wives, heroes of war, history twisted, not anymore.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast, Sisters Not Wives. I'm Kinsley Hatch.
And I'm Jocelyn Hatch.
And happy spooky season, everyone.
Woo.
This episode is specifically spooky because we are talking about blood atonement. I know! Yeah, and it's probably going to be 2 episodes just because there's a lot to get into. And so, blood atonement is literally probably like one of the most controversial, highly debated, highly rumored, highly denied doctrine from Mormonism, I would say, ever.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first heard about blood atonement?
Yeah, it was not till like 2 years ago.
That's what, when like freaking Under the Banner of Heaven came out?
I didn't know about it until then.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about because you hear about everything. I don't know. Like, I feel like growing up in Utah, as Mormon as we were, I heard all the fringe things, like co-op, you name it.
Right.
But I had never heard about blood atonement until 2 years ago. Pretty much when the Banner of Heaven came out. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Never heard it talked about before. So
because it is controversial.
It's super controversial. But it's interesting because I had heard other anti-Mormon stuff before. Okay, not that blood atonement is anti-Mormon stuff.
But you feel like that would be something that they would talk about more.
Yeah, and I think they are now, but it's weird that I hadn't discovered it when looking at the literature online that is like ex-Mormon and not pro the church, you know?
Yeah.
You think I would have come across that?
Right. I think that would be a good audience question too. Like if you have heard of blood atonement before, when did you first hear about it?
Yeah. And what was the context?
Tell us. I'm curious.
Okay, that's a great question. So yeah, because for us, it was only 2 years ago.
It was longer than that.
For you?
Well, I feel like when did the Banner of Heaven come out? Like 2019?
No, it came out in 2013. Or sorry, I don't know.
2023?
2023.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, wow, it's only been 2 years. But yeah. But, and as is the case in all icky doctrines in the church, there are roots of blood atonement. Blood atonement originates with the time of polygamy. And so there's a lot of connected things with that. So we're going to get into the whole how it came to be and what was the history and why it is the way it is. But I'm
so intrigued.
Yes, it is so crazy. And there's a lot of room, there's a lot of gray and a lot of speculation and a lot of like undocumented things. And we're going to get into it. Like people can have different opinions based on what they believe or not.
Right.
But there's some kind of undisputed things. So yeah. So blood atonement, let's just start off with the basic definition because I feel like a lot of people don't even know what blood atonement is. So I feel like the simplest way to define it is blood atonement is a doctrine that some sins are unforgivable and even the atonement of Christ cannot redeem you if you commit certain sins. And so the only way to escape eternal damnation and save your soul is if a righteous person sheds your blood and takes your life and to pay for your unforgivable sins.
That's so wild.
It is so wild.
I have like so many questions. I'm trying to like just give you the time to explain it to me.
No.
But like immediately, as soon as you say that, I'm like, I don't know. Like, what about this? What about this? Like, what? So yeah. I'm just going to let you talk, but...
No. Feel free to interrupt me because...
Oh, I will, but look, it just is so wild that I immediately am like...
Yeah, that's because it's like the craziest thing in the world to say.
Right.
You know? It feels like immediately so... like against the whole, like everyone always says the point of the gospel is like Jesus and the atonement, and
right,
like,
the atonement, and it's like, but then there's the blood atonement.
Yeah, and guess what? Jesus ain't good enough for that.
Yeah,
like, Jesus can't help you.
I bet he is real offended.
Yeah, he's like, I was on that cross for a long time.
That was for everything.
Yeah,
it's like fine print. Jesus, you didn't read that.
Yeah,
sorry, this part sounds sacrilegious, but
still. It's true. It's like this, like, suddenly in the 1800s, suddenly Christ's atonement can't
isn't good.
qualify for these it's not good enough. You have to kill someone. It's very like Mosaic law, like how they animal sacrifice, but even to the extreme of human sacrifice.
Which is also wild too, because like isn't the whole point of like the Book of Mormon and everything else only okay, wait. Maybe I'm wrong. Might be confusing something.
What?
But like there's Moses's law. Oh no. So it's Moses's law and then Jesus's law, which is supposed to be higher than that.
Yeah. So the Old Testament was in the Mosaic law, and then Jesus was the higher law and the true gospel and like the New Testament.
And I feel like the Book of Mormon just builds off the New Testament.
It does, 100%.
So
and Jesus said when he came to earth and in his things in the New Testament, that's what made the Jews so angry, was he said the Mosaic law doesn't apply anymore because I'm teaching you a higher law.
Mm-hmm.
And they got mad because they're like, but we like the Mosaic law. And so the fact that it's like reverting back, it's like, and to an even more extreme point.
Right.
So it's like, what on earth? It's crazy. It's giving Crusader vibes. That's what it's giving. It's like, this is unhinged.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, the LDS Church obviously nowadays denies it, and we'll get into the actual involvement of the LDS Church. But just like polygamy nowadays, blood atonement still, there's remnants of it from the history.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still impact from the history.
Yeah.
And pretty much every group who has practiced blood atonement, it came from Mormon fundamentalist groups who were polygamists.
Checks out.
Yeah, so they all, because it's all rooted in the same history, it's still manifesting itself with the same kinds of people.
Mm.
So that's what I wanted to start out with, because I'm not sure how many people actually know. And I think sometimes before looking into the history, it's good to realize kind of like what has since been and what it created, what the history created as some context for like modern times. Because sometimes it's easy to look back in 1800s and be like, oh, that was forever ago. There's lots of crazy things happening. But to see what happened in the 70s and 80s because of this kind of stuff is...
Right, like the rippling effects, the consequences.
Yeah, and what could still continue to happen if we're, like things we need to watch out for.
Yeah.
So the first one is we're going to be talking about basically 3 fundamentalist Mormon polygamist groups who practice blood atonement. And the first one is going to be the Lafferty Brothers. This is what, if you've heard of it, Under the Banner of Heaven is about. And Jocelyn...
Want me to tell a little bit of that story from what I know?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the story, what you know, what happened, blood atonement.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but and this is like, I feel like when we were first introduced to that concept.
Yeah.
And then also I feel like a lot of people too.
Yeah.
This is why I'm very curious about people's like knowledge and interaction with this thing.
Yep.
But the Lafferty brothers were Okay, well, this is a question, too, because they were definitely more of it was in the 80s, 84, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure is when this happened. It was the Lafferty family, and they were kind of more of the fundamentalists. They had, like, split off from more of the church. But did they present themselves as more of, like...
Yeah, they were an affluent family in the LDS Church.
Yeah,
but they
definitely
believed more extreme and got more fundamentalist.
Uh-huh, yeah. And so... bunch of brothers. One of the brothers married a girl who seems like she was very ahead of her time. Mm-hmm. Very like feminist, and didn't she have like wasn't she like a journalist or something?
Yeah.
Like, or at least she had like an interest in that.
Pursuing that, going to BYU.
Yeah, and like feminist stuff, very powerful, young, bright woman. Mm-hmm. And she married into that family, and I'm sure that's what he loved about. That was part of what he loved about her, which is also interesting to me. And the brothers and the family just quickly realized that she was a problem. And I think she was like influencing their wives a little differently with some of her views and like empowering them and just kind of what she stood for. And so It was like one of the brothers or two of the brothers that went and did the blood atonement on her because of... That's crazy. Like, what sin?
Yeah.
What sin was so bad that they had to go and blood atone her for?
Right. In their minds, they thought she was corrupting her husband, their brother.
And then their wives, too.
And their wives. And she felt like she was pulling him away from their family and was more worldly.
Okay.
And so she deserved to die.
That makes sense.
And she was like, yeah.
And they had like a 15-month-old baby too, and they killed the baby too, which explain that. Like, explain that blood atonement.
Right.
It's just crazy.
It's sickening.
But yeah.
Yeah, so they went to her house. Was her husband was at work?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was on the 24th of July.
Which also crazy when I was like kind of looking into this before when we were talking about this. The house that she was murdered in is right around the corner from my house.
In Pleasant Grove, isn't it?
It's
crazy?
So wild.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how thinking about this type of stuff, how it's like right where we are.
It just hits close to home, literally.
Yeah, it's literally across, like, that was wild.
Yeah.
It's a block away from where you live. This horrible, atrocious murder where they pretty much decapitated her and the baby. Which there's roots, like, there's a reason for that. Blood atonement has ties to specific ways to harm people and kill people. And that is one of the ways. And
it's so wild. And that was in the 80s.
It was 84. That's only, like, 41 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's, like, within our parents' lifetimes that happened.
Yeah.
And just so sad. And they felt completely justified in it because they felt like they were doing it for the Lord, and she was wicked and they were righteous, and so they had a right to kill her and end her life. And in actuality, they were saving her soul by doing something like that.
Part of me, like, I mean, this is getting into a lot of the gray area of, like, how much did they actually believe that and how much of it was an excuse?
It makes you question that anytime, like, religious violence is used.
Absolutely.
With this, it's like, how much is it that they're just, like, totally delusional and believe this, and how much is it that they're just crazy people who are using it? I think that's a big topic in this whole discussion, is, like, how powerful is teaching and rhetoric versus what people actually do? Because a lot of people could hear about blood atonement, and then you hear this with abusers a lot, or like people who become serial killers. They had a horrible childhood and they were abused as children, and then they become serial
insanity of defense.
Yeah, but it's like there's plenty of people who have been abused as children, have had terrible childhoods, and they don't go kill people.
Right.
You know? So I think that's a very valid question of, like, where does this all come into play? And we're going to talk about that more with the history of it, because with, like, Brigham Young and the leaders of the church, what they were promoting and then what they were preaching, people have tried to backpedal to be like, oh, they didn't really mean that, and they never did anything. And so that alone is like,
and they've been preaching it.
Yeah, like, how influential is teaching, and, like, is it the crazy people? Like, is it the crazy system that creates the crazy people, or is it the crazy people who use a crazy system to do bad things, you know?
Right.
Which comes first? It's hard to know, right?
Right.
Especially when they say this, are they justifying it, or is it like they're brainwashed and they really believe it?
Yeah. Are you going to get... Sorry.
No.
Probably already. Are you getting into, like, the origin of it?
Yeah, so we're going to get into the origin of it and all of that. For the next episode, though.
Yeah. A little reverse?
Yeah, we're doing it in reverse, which is kind of weird. But I thought it's kind of helpful to see what has come from it, and then we'll go into the history and the origin of it, so we can get into those questions and get into that history, because it's all part of the discussion. And the thing is, that's why I want to have this discussion first about what's happening in modern time, or what happened in recent times with blood atonement, because it still applies today. I think we should look at these things. I don't know if I told you about this or if you maybe saw it, but 2 months ago, the Secretary of Defense posted on X or like Twitter. He reposted a video from a church. It's called the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches. Have you heard of that church before? It is wild. It was started by a man from Moscow, Idaho, and I watched the video, and it's literally like The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh no!
And his church has spread. Like it's not just another.
Oh no! Don't tell me.
I know. Sorry to make you spiral. Made me spiral a little bit, but the video is like clips of people from this church and the leader with his wife and people like that talking about how they don't believe gay people or women should have the right to vote anymore.
Oh my gosh.
And they think we should vote as households because the separation isn't good for us. And that means the man of the household will be the one voting. And
why don't you just say that? Like, I feel like it's a roundabout way to say if the man should just vote.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Right. Like saying it household. And then in that video, a reporter asks them, well, what if your wife has a different opinion of you about who they want to vote for? And then the guy's like, well, that offers an opportunity to have a good discussion about it. That's his justification. Not that she should have a choice or like, oh yeah, she should. Like, no, she shouldn't be able to vote. I guess that means that they'll just foster more of a partnership with us because then we can have a good discussion about it before I cast our vote for us.
Oh my gosh.
So it's talking about that. And then the wife in the video is like, I submit to my husband, and she's going along with it and agreeing with it. And people are like, it's based in the Bible. We're just, the reason why men should be the ones to do that is because of the Bible. And then it's like, it's talking about these things, and it is crazy. And the crazy thing is, this isn't just some rando online who posted this. And it's not even just the weirdo founder of the church who posted it. It's the Secretary of Defense for the United States of America reposted this video in church and said something like, we're all together in Christ. Like, that was his caption. And he posted that on, like, that is wild to me. I feel like as a federal official, if you, like, we all have different views about all kinds of the political spectrum of issues, right?
Right.
But if you're that high up in the government and you're promoting taking away basic voting rights from demographics based on gender or sexual orientation or what will you? Like, I'm like, how did this happen 2 months ago and there's been no consequences?
Yeah, that's wild.
It's literal, and he's the Secretary of Defense. Like, the person who's in charge of the military, obviously, like, not the one on top. Obviously, you have the president and everything like that. But Secretary of Defense, that's your role, is you're in control of all the violent things.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
It like opens such a can of worms too, because I'm like, who let this guy get in here? And like, what is the, like, even if other people are like, don't agree with that, but we're gonna exploit that broke my brain.
I know.
That's like a lot.
It is a lot because you just don't, it's like, what's it called? Not confirmation bias. Consensus bias, where you just assume that everyone thinks the way you think. Which, I mean, we all have that, but that's how I feel. Like, I assume everyone doesn't think, everyone thinks that women should have the right to vote.
Hey, that's crazy, right, guys?
Like, have the right to vote.
Yeah.
And so seeing not just crazy
So
people online or a bot, like there's so many bots online, but
right.
Secretary of Defense, it's like
he's not trolling. Yeah.
It like made me spiral a little bit. I was like, this is wild. And that's why I think these kind of discussions are so important.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to feel like those things are just from the past.
They're not.
No, they're not.
Well, and I feel like as the world, that's kind of the thing. As the world gets crazier, as more crazy things happen, I think you have people that are like looking for stability and looking to like ground themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes it's these really extremist views that people ground themselves in.
Yeah. Sometimes I think religion is a really a natural way that people go to ground when the world is crazy.
Yeah,
and it's hard, and they find a
cling
lot
to your
of
soul.
solace and community in it.
Right.
And so I think that's all great. And I think that's normal and natural. And we all have
That's super dangerous too.
inclination. Yes, 100%. It is dangerous because if you disregard basic human rights, or you disregard other people for what you want, and you start to other people and be like, it's us versus them. And then you start to, and you listen to authority for authority's sake. Like, they're the prophet, I listen to them no matter what. Or like, they are telling me what God, like, I will do whatever God wants me to the point of killing or hurting other people. That's where we need to be careful. And like, no, you have to be separate from that, because there will always be, there always has been, and even in our modern day and age, there always will be people who are looking for power and who are charismatic leaders and who are talking about good things and things that you believe in and you support, but it's a slippery slope of how far they're going to take you to extremes and how far you're willing to go down that for your cause or your community. And you have to be careful.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
You shouldn't have community. You should have community. And in your communities, you should be that person to make sure that there's checks and balances going on, because it's human nature. And I feel like the world is just getting more and more polarized, and like more, everyone is sensing kind of that things are getting crazier. And so that kind of stuff is going to continue to happen more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you said something about like finding checks and balances. And it's funny because I've been thinking about this, but I wasn't going to bring it up till next time. When we got into back to what we were kind of talking about last week. But I think it plays in too, like with falling for a cult and like how far things get taken, how extremism happens. I think you definitely do have to have like a moral compass about how you figure out when stuff's too far.
Yeah.
And I think that was one thing I wanted to talk about last week, but kind of forgot. It's just like, first of all, there's a really great podcast called Trust Me. And it's all about like interviewing people that have been in a cult. And like how they went in it and how like they came out of it. And it's very non-judgmental.
Oh, cool.
And then I listened to another podcast too recently. I want to like reference it because I feel like these are good resources. But it's from the podcast The Knife. Okay. Which they talk about like they interview people that like crazy things have happened to them. They've come out of it, and it's a range of things. But this particular person that they were talking to, he actually wrote a book, and it was called I think it was called Queen of the Con or something. And it was about, it's this guy who got conned by this woman who like claimed that she, and it sounds like super crazy when you first hear about it, like she claimed that she was Irish royalty and that she was trying to get her inheritance. And
I would have gotten an email about that.
Yeah. But I mean, this was like longer ago. But so anyway, and then she like scammed him out of like I can't remember the exact amount, but it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars for him. And it sounds crazy on the surface, but he talks about like how like convincing it is. But he wrote a book. What is it? Wait, okay. I don't know if it is the same book, but the book is basically about like how to spot a con artist.
Oh, cool.
And like it's like the anatomy of I should double check this. But anyway, it has something to do with like how to spot.
Yeah, we could add it to our show notes.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that's so important, and nobody has really done stuff like that. And I think it's making me think about it because you're talking about the checks and balances and how, to avoid that extremism. And nobody like wants to admit that they've been duped or that they've been conned or that they're wrong. Yeah. Or that whatever. But it's just a way to kind of like check yourself for a moment and be like, oh, wait. And it's okay. We're human. Yeah. It's okay to like change your mind and be like, oh, wait a second. This wasn't right.
Yeah. And even if it is like, oh, I trusted these people, or like we started out with causes I really believed in. Like, I still believe in these things and these principles, but the slippery slope that can happen.
Right.
That's the thing. And that's like a theme in all abuse. Like, cults is more of a little inner circle system thing that happens.
Yeah.
But it happens on the individual level too. People for the longest time have been like, why do women stay in abusive relationships?
Right.
Because it sounds crazy. Like, he's hitting you, he's beating you. Why don't you leave? But it never starts that way. It starts out with a charismatic love bombing person who makes you feel like $1 million. And degree by degree, they start doing things to groom you. They break you down. They start doing small things, seeing how much you take. They'll reinforce with love. That's something that I think is really evil when people do this. And a toxic level is when you mistreat someone and then reinforce it with love to get them to stay with you. That's like 101 toxicity, right?
Yeah.
But that happens on the individual level.
My biggest fear. Like,
of that happening to you. Yeah, like, it's crazy. And that's the thing. It's like, it feels like on the outside, hearing about these crazy things of people getting into a cult, getting into an abusive relationship, getting into these situations, it's like, wow, you're dumb. Like, if we're being honest, and maybe we don't even say that to other people, but sometimes that's a lot of our first reactions is like, I would never do that. That's a crazy cow. Yeah, like, you must be crazy if you fell for that, right? But you have to remember, these people are usually people who do that are very smart and very charismatic, and they have things that pull you into them. Like, cult leaders, it's not uncommon for them to be like almost at a genius level. Yeah. And to do genius type things and be able to talk and honestly like woo people and care. You see that all the time. Like, I feel like we've all experienced that in high school or in like some certain community where you have the popular kids where it's like they just have the it factor. And when you have the it factor, it's easy to make people follow you. And it's just human nature. And these people, on top of that, if they do have ill intent, they're using how smart they are and how charismatic they are to manipulate you till you're a point where you don't even recognize yourself anymore. Yep. And so I think that is such a valid thing because, and we kind of talked about that last time, how we felt like no one was protecting us in these situations. Like, the adults should have been helping.
I didn't know either, really.
And they didn't know. But also, we were not told to be like, we were told to set boundaries in certain ways of like, oh, well, you want to like purity culture teaches you to set boundaries, but it's all about keeping yourself clean and pure. And there's another side of boundaries that I think is even more important, which is protecting yourself and being true to yourself. Yeah. And being able to not only spot cons, but also be in tune with yourself and recognize when you're uncomfortable. That's enough to be like, no, I'm done. Yeah, because manipulators and predators and narcissists take you degree by degree by degree where you're like, I feel a little uncomfy about this, but it just keeps going further and further. So on an individual level, as well as in the community, that's something that we need to nurture. So definitely let's look up that book and put it in the show notes because I think that's something we can all benefit from. Yeah, absolutely. And I just lost my train of thought, but yeah. Sorry, I talked for long. No, it was good. I had so many thoughts while you were talking, but yeah, I think it is really good. And I think that that's one of the important things, like just kind of, there's like so many different side tangents that I'm thinking of right now, but like, that's why it is really important to like, just kind of know who you are and to just be able to have that moment where you can check in with yourself. Yeah. And like, and to not feel dumb if you do fall for things and you go along with things for a while and then to be like, oh, wait, hold on. That's okay too. Yes. But just to be able to check in and be like, okay, this makes me feel weird. To be really in tune with your intuition. Yeah. You're never too far gone to get out of a bad. Never ever. And you don't have to feel stupid. I feel like we feel stupid when we make mistakes, but I mean, yeah. And that's human nature. Yeah. That's what I love about these podcasts. That's what I love about Trust Me and The Knife. Oh, sorry. Well, just, the knife, but also just this guy in particular story about, like, hey, I got conned. Like, here we go. Like, this is how you spot this stuff. And just being very blunt about it. Yes. And I think being genuine with yourself, that's really, honestly, I think that it's kind of my new definition of spirituality.
Mhm.
I think the deepest level of spirituality can be being true to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about like how many scriptures you know. It's not about how high you get up in a church or who you marry or any of all that. And I still do believe in religion, and I still do believe in certain rituals and certain like structures.
Yeah.
On an individual level for myself. But I think the truest form of spirituality is connecting with yourself, knowing who you are, being able to really flex that muscle of like, I know who I am, I know what feels good and right to me, and I act on that, and I have that guiding principle throughout my life. And really, I think that's what connects us to the divine and to God, is that we know ourselves, we are connecting with our divinity and with a higher power, and that's where it gets really powerful, you know?
Absolutely. And I think it is really important to like make that a focus in today's world, just because there are so many different forces pulling you different ways, different algorithms, different news outlets, different whatever. It's like, and it can feel I've all the time feel very overwhelmed by all of it. And that's why I think it's important to be able to ground yourself and to come back to, okay, here we go. Like, what is me? What is blah, blah, blah. And also, I just want to say, because that also used to overwhelm me, like, know yourself. Like,
like
it's like, that's such a generalized statement. But I think you're always learning about yourself. And you're always like, I feel like trusting your intuition is definitely a process. Like, nobody's like mastered that either.
Yeah, it's a journey, never a destination.
It's just humanity. So, like, don't beat yourself up when you don't. Like, continue practicing it, but don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. And I mean,
when it doesn't,
No, sorry, finish.
No, I don't even know how I was going to finish.
But like that is so true. And I think what you were saying about like, if you get conned, don't feel embarrassed or don't feel bad about it. Or, you know, if you realize that, like, I definitely have felt that things like, oh, I had this traumatic thing happen to me, so I worked on it and I healed and I processed and I'm a stronger, better version of myself. And I think I am. And in certain situations, I've like overcome that and I handle it so well. And then something happens unexpected and I don't handle it well.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I did not even see that. I didn't even see the red flags. And I do feel embarrassed. I'm like, I feel so stupid.
And you're like, but I already learned this lesson, I thought.
Yes, I've already learned this lesson and I've studied about it and I tell other people these things. How did I make this such blatant basic mistake in a situation where there were so many red flags?
Yeah.
And so like even on the path to knowing yourself, like you don't have to feel imposter syndrome or because like that you're never going to be perfect and there's still going to be opportunities of doing that. And it's just kind of living in this progressive mind state of like, okay, I made a mistake. Let's analyze it. Or like I fell for something again. Cause I think that happens a lot. Sometimes we just want to be like, that's never going to happen to me again. And, it's usually more progressive than never ever.
Yeah. Just give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Like, don't be yourself. Like try to hold on to what you learned. But if you don't, like, oh, well, you might have to learn it again. That's fine.
Honestly, that's how habits are built. And it's like you push and push and push and you have these high standards and you'll fail. But gradually, if you keep going, that's where it gets more consistent and eventually more on that hard.
Solidified.
Yeah. Yep. So 100%. This was a freaking awesome discussion. I'm glad we started with this.
Yeah, me too.
So the next fundamentalist group that had blood atonement going on or had abuse going on and then the leader started talking about blood atonement was Warren Jeffs in the LDS Church, which is one of the most infamous offshoots of the LDS Church because they were a really big, I guess, and are a really big community that practices polygamy and is like, I feel like when people think of people who may not be super familiar with Mormons, that's like kind of what they envision, like people who still dress like pioneers, who have 500 million wives, who like are living in these closed off weirdo communities. And I shouldn't say weirdo communities because I do want to respect people who come from polygamy and maybe people who are still in polygamy. Like it's a choice you can make. And so I apologize for saying that. But in the situation with like Warren Jeffs,
worships
a psycho. And there is systems like that where children are being abused, like physically, sexually, women are being abused and brainwashed and manipulated physically, sexually, mentally, all of it. So, yeah, Warren Jeffs was arrested for all this kind of stuff with what he did in his community. Is very typical Mormon fundamentalist. Like, God told me to practice polygamy. God told me to have sister wives. God told me to have this whole thing. And, like, all the signs of, like, this community living in poverty and the women and children being abused. And, like, they're the ones who are laboring and they're the one, like, just your as typical as you can think a Mormon fundamentalist group to be, they are. And they're kind of the iconic one with Warren Jeffs getting arrested and all that. So Warren Jeffs never practiced blood atonement, but before he got arrested, he started talking about it. And
that's scary. Like, what would he have done?
Yeah, right? He would have killed people. That's what he would have done. Yeah. Like, thank goodness he was arrested when he was, because he started to incorporate blood atonement into his sermons. And it's because these Mormon fundamentalists are all pulling from the same kind of sources of polygamy, and blood atonement is right there with polygamy. I'm sorry, but as much as you try to separate them, they're inseparable, and we'll get into the history of why. And so that's why you see every polygamist group that does blood atonement, it's all connected.
That's why.
It's just a fruition of the evil of these kind of systems.
Right. That's so wild.
Yeah.
I just gotta say, too, sorry, this is, like, so random and kind of side tangent, but I feel like it's really easy to, like, see all these bad things, like, just escalate, and then they happen, and they're terrible, and it's like, how could we have prevented this? And, like, it was terrible. And this is just one of those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. Like,
yes.
Like,
good thing this didn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
Usually it's in the aftermath that we're like, oh my gosh.
And I think it's important to point out those moments.
Yes, there is goodness in the world, and good does triumph.
Yeah.
It's not always evil that wins. So I think that's so fair, especially when we're talking about these heavy subjects. It's good to celebrate the wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the crazy thing. A former member of the FLDS church reported that Warren Jeffs came to him and wanted him to design this thermostat for a special high temperature furnace, so that if blood atonement needed to happen, the furnace would be hot enough in order to destroy DNA evidence for disposing of bodies.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, this wasn't just some rhetorical thing a crazy guy was saying. He was, like, actively looking into ways to cover his tracks so he could start killing people.
That is wild.
Yep.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. That's why I started researching it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so thank goodness, to your point, thank goodness he was caught when he was, because he was looking at making moves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Not to mention all the horrible, like,
on top of everything else.
He deserves to rot in hell for everything he did to those people. But the fact that it was going to get even worse, it's like, oh my gosh. So blood atonement there. And then the craziest one is happened in the 70s with blood atonement. It is with Ervil LeBaron. Have you ever heard of that guy?
Well, sounds familiar, but no, not right top of my head.
So this is crazy because it's centered around Ervil LeBaron.
What a terrible name, first of all, just because.
First of all, yeah.
Anyway.
Second of all, guess what his nickname was?
Oh, no.
They called him the Mormon Manson after, like, Charles Manson.
That's not great.
The serial killer cult leader.
Yes.
They called this guy Ervil. They called him the Mormon Manson because of what he did.
Oh no.
And so and we'll get so Ervil came from. So I'll jump ahead. Obviously, we'll get into more details about this. But basically, once the LDS Church was like, no more polygamy, there was a lot of people who were still polygamists, and a lot of people were going to Mexico to escape persecution from U.S. law for practicing polygamy. And so Ervil came from one of those families who they were a polygamous family. And so they went to Mexico in the early 1900s to be able to continue to practice polygamy. And his father started his own church based around this, which happened with all those people who once like the main LDS church denounced polygamy, you had tons of offshoots of people like, I'm going to start my own church that does continue to practice polygamy. So his dad was polygamist and started his own church in Mexico. And so that's where Ervil came from. He was one of the children of one of the wives of this man.
This sounds like so vaguely familiar.
Really?
Yeah.
Hate it. Yeah, let me know if anything resonates with you. But so the church was called the Church of the Firstborn of the Lamb of the God. Of the Lamb of God.
Okay, yep.
You've heard of it?
It's starting to ring more. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it's
Also, like,
interesting.
did they pick the longest name in the world?
Right.
Like, they really were.
You really didn't want that to roll off the tongue, did you?
I literally have that written down. I literally put
Our brains.
it's crazy. I said they clearly were not going for something that rolls off the tongue. That is crazy. That's why we always win games when we're teammates.
Great job. We can't clap at the same time.
No, our skills are bad, but our brains
Mhm.
there.
Dang, that's wild.
That is hilarious, actually. Wow, I'm like shook. But okay, so their dad was the leader of this church, and typical polygamist fundamentalist Mormon group. And yeah. So their dad was in charge, and then their dad dies in 1951, and his older brother, Ervil's older brother, Joel, takes over the church, and then Ervil becomes like number 2 in the church of leadership. He's like the second in command, basically. So this goes on, and then in the 1960s, Ervil starts to fight with Joel and starts condemning him and be like, actually, I should be the leader, not this Joel guy. And so, and eventually they have followers in the US and in Mexico. They have like their community in, where was it? In Mexico's somewhere specific. I'll find it. But so they have their specific settlement in Mexico and their followers in Mexico, but then they start to spread out. And so eventually Ervil was like, I'm starting my own church. Like, screw you, Joel. And he started his own branch of this church in San Diego. And then he's like, and you know what? Let's kill Joel. And
gosh.
Yep. And so he sends
in the name of blood atonement, right?
In the name of blood atonement. That's how he justifies it. He's like, actually, I'm the one in charge. God chose me, and I'm the new prophet. And he's thinking like he's gonna get everyone to join his side, but Joel has his followers in Mexico, and he's like, yeah, we're just going to kill Joel because he's messing with my authority and he's evil. And that's a part of the condemnations he's making, and that he's not rightful to rule and he's evil and needs to be punished for his sins. And so he uses blood atonement to justify it. And so assassins go to Mexico and they kill his brother for him.
Wow.
And then he thought everyone in Mexico would be like, oh, well, Ervil's in charge now, but they weren't. They were like, this man should be arrested. And so he was like, excuse me? Anyway, so he eventually does get arrested for this and convicted of Joel's murder. And then it gets overturned on a technicality and he is free.
No way.
Yep. And then he becomes unhinged and goes...
As if he wasn't already.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just, playing around before, but now he was like, okay, and he's vengeful. And so he orders a hit and orders an attack on the community in Mexico. What was that place called?
Well, just got to get rid of everybody that doesn't believe me.
Yep.
That's what I keep thinking. Like, it was such like, it feels very reminiscent of what somebody else did with Joseph Smith.
Yes.
And it's like, it's kind of a risky game to play because you really don't know where people's loyalties are going to fall.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you have to wait and see. And then if it doesn't, like, what then?
Yeah.
Like, with power, when you're grasping for power, like, most people that are grasping for power, I feel like usually don't stop.
Right. It snowballs. It's literally like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You start out as this harmless high school teacher with cancer, and you end up as a drug lord. It's
and
like,
you can't stop.
You can't stop because you just get yourself into worse and worse situations. So even if you want
the end goal.
Yeah, it's like once you start messing with power and violence, you're cooked. And that's literally what happened with him. So the place was called Los Molinos. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Probably very much like a white person. But so that's where the settlement was. So after he gets released, after being convicted of his brother's murder, he's like, we're attacking them, and I'm going to kill my younger brother too.
Wow.
His younger brother his name was like Verlan. And also, just a side note, this comes in later, but just so you have a perspective of like kind of where they're at, Ervil has 13 wives and over 50 children. So polygamy is very much still a big part of their communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, okay, I'm going to kill my younger brother now, and I'm going to attack everyone in that community. And so they order a raid. Luckily, his younger brother was out of town, and so they didn't kill him because he wasn't there, but they still had that raid and attacked the town and killed 2 men. So now he's killed 3 people.
Well, I was like, dang, only 2 men, but then I'm like, oh yeah, so it's 3 people you killed.
I know. Like, so that's when you start thinking about like raids and bigger scale things. You're like, so they killed everyone. Oh, I'll think 2 people. That's not. But then you start like,
oh yeah, that's 3 lives.
Yeah, that's like
hold
3
on.
people he's killed so far.
I was just expecting something different.
Yeah, I know. When you hear raid and things like that, yeah, I get it. But yeah, so far he's responsible for ordering the death of 3 people so far. Wow. And he doesn't stop. He is literally psychotic. And so he just starts, it's literally like the purge. And he starts killing people in his family. He starts killing like rival polygamist leaders from other churches. And so one of the murders, it becomes insane. And it is estimated that he killed anywhere that we know of. He killed anywhere like at a minimum 20 people.
Oh my gosh.
And on the higher level, like 50 people.
And they didn't like arrest him again? Like
they eventually did, but not till he did all that.
I was going to say, nobody was keeping an eye out on him?
Yeah.
What the crap was the technicality that his crap got overturned?
I don't know. Some people...
What?
I know. Isn't that crazy? There is suspicion that there was a bride.
Mm.
And so, like, foul play involved in what got him released.
Makes sense.
So, obviously, none of that's confirmed, but that's what people think. Yeah, because he killed Joel. He ordered Joel's death in 1972.
Did he end up getting his little brother?
That's interesting. We'll get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So, not at first. So, he kills Joel in 1972, and then it's not till 1979 that he's arrested again.
Dang.
For all these other murders.
Wait, sorry, what year again? Sorry.
So 1972 is when he kills Joel. Okay. And then 1979 is when he's arrested again.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, what, 7-8 years?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. And he is going to town. Like, he decides he has this fight going on with another rival polygamous sect in Utah. So there's this man... Rulin C. Allred, who's a polygamist as well and a leader of a different church in Utah. And so he, Ervil orders, he was a doctor. He was like a chiropractor and herbalist, and the Allred guy was. So
is that what the Laffertys were too?
Yeah. They were they had a chiropractic business too.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. So in 1977, Ervil had his brainwashed 13th wife, Rena, and his stepdaughter go into Dr. Allred's clinic in Utah and shoot him and kill him.
Wow.
They were masked. 2 women go into his clinic, shoot him until he's dead.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So he kills that guy. And then one of the sad, like he has his father-in-law's, one of his sister wives, because his father-in-law is a polygamist too. He gets mad at her. Her name's Naomi. I don't know if their last name is pronounced like Chenoweth or Chinawith. I should have looked this up before, but her name's Naomi, and she's one of his father-in-law's sister wives, and he feels like she snubbed him at her wedding to his father-in-law.
Okay.
And so he's like, she's dead. And so he gets the first wife of his father-in-law, and her name was Thelma. So he gets Thelma and then one of his wives, Vonda, to go kill Naomi.
Wow.
So they kill Naomi. He's killing people.
It's literally... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's just wild with the polygamy thing. It's like you're building up your own little personal army.
Yeah, it really is. And you're brainwashing them. And then it's like, this is out of control. I feel like this is one of the most extreme situations where you just see him weaponizing his family.
Yeah.
In the history,
all of them, I feel like that's what they're doing. Or at least, like, yikes.
Yeah, it's interesting with the family dynamics, how much he had brainwashed the women to do his bidding, too.
Yeah.
You don't usually see that because the women are also victims of these men. And so it was interesting in this scenario how, like, there's a lot of in the family itself. One of the saddest murders was... This, like, sickens me, this murder. So, her name was Rebecca LeBaron. She was 17 years old, and she was pregnant with her second child. She was married to a polygamist in the community. And she had her firstborn was a son, and they were living in Denver at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they separated her from her son. And she was living in Texas. And so she was fighting.
Why?
I'm not sure. I didn't find that.
They're just having some conflicts and
yeah,
they like moved her away.
I'm not sure why they separated her. But she was separated from her son, and then she was pregnant, 3 months pregnant with her second child. And she was 17. And she was his daughter. And she was like, and she was threatening them. She was threatening to expose what was going on in the cult and go tell the police what they were doing if they did not reunite her with her son.
That's all she wanted.
It's so sad. Just a 17-year-old who, like, literally was forced into polygamous marriage as a child bride, had 2 children, and then out of the good, like, in her maternal, even as a 17-year-old, all she wants is to have her son.
No.
And so she's willing to, like, threaten these powerful, scary, violent men to try to get at least her son back. And they killed her.
That's so sad.
They
couldn't just give him back.
Yeah, they couldn't have just given her son. So
it's so scary. Like, honestly, like, it's so sad, but also, like, again, take a moment to, like, praise her for stepping out of that and the bravery that takes.
That's the thing. Rebecca, like, amazing. Like, she was willing to risk her life just to be with her children.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter, like, what power she was standing up against, even though she had grown up in a brainwashed, abused system, she was powerful enough and brave enough to stand up.
Yeah.
Sadly, they killed her.
Yeah, it's sad that that's the end result. It's terrible.
It's horrible. And there's not a lot of evidence with this one because, but they think what happened is they think he ordered her brothers to kill her and they strangled her. And then
her brothers.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they were half brothers or what with the whole polygamy and wife thing, but, either brothers or probably half brothers is what I'm guessing. And then they disposed her body out in the Texas desert. So her body has never been found, and obviously her unborn child, like, nothing's ever been found of them.
Wow.
But so sad, but still, like, I'm really glad you said that. Like, despite all the ugliness, let's honor what a powerful woman she was. Because that is so sad. And that's what this kind of stuff can result in when you take it to the full extent.
Yeah. So just opening that door, I'm like, oh my gosh, it just flies off the handle.
Yeah.
Like, there's just...
And I think that's the thing with the slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think it's going to get there. Every step along the way, you're like, well, it's not going to get that bad. Well, it's not going to get that bad. Well, that can never happen. They would never do that. They're going to stop at some point. I just have to do this and it will be enough. And it really isn't. Mm-hmm. Like, it will get to that point if there isn't something stopping it. Right. And that something has to be you. It has to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he just killed a ton of people. And this is also a common theme in Blood Atonement is he never killed anyone directly. he ordered people.
Had people do his dirty work.
He had people do his dirty work, which is like very typical of blood atonement. It's like the leaders are the one who are called of God, who are given the power, and they're the one who gets to dictate who lives and dies.
Yeah.
And so, yep. So eventually in 1979, he does get arrested for the murder of that doctor, because that's one that they can prove. Because they literally went to his clinic and shot him in the face. And so he gets arrested in Mexico. He's been kind of on the run, and he's taken to the Draper prison in Utah, and he gets convicted for the murder of Dr. Allred. And while in prison, I'll basically say what happens to him. In 1981, he's only there for 2 years, and then he dies in prison.
Okay.
Some people say it was
like, do not say he got out.
No, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Oh my God.
So some people say it was a seizure, but most of the records, it's a suicide. So he killed himself. So that was his end. He died in 1981 in prison. And he was like convicted for life in prison.
Wow.
But while he was in prison, he wrote a book. And the book was called The Book of the New Covenants, which was basically his own Bible. It was like 400 pages long, and it really hammered out blood, like really doubled down on blood atonement, and it included a list of 50 names of people who he believed had been disloyal to him and who deserved to die.
Wow.
Needed to die.
Wow.
And so, and the sad thing is, a lot of these things, a lot of the people who he would consider disloyal were people who he had ordered to go kill other people and who had refused. So the fact that he probably killed around 20 to 50 people, that was just the people who were willing to actually go kill people for him. There were so many others who he had ordered to go assassinate and be his assassins who had refused.
Oh my gosh.
And so imagine like if he had more followers or more time, how much that would have happened, you know? Like he would be responsible for, when would it have ended? You know,
Right.
like this man was full. And that's the one thing I forgot to mention. When Joel got killed, when he was arrested, he started releasing pamphlets about blood atonement, specifically to justify his actions in their religion.
Of course.
And so it's like explicitly tied to blood atonement. And then he releases this book, which is like his own Bible, which talks about how his followers, he has 50 names on a list of people who need to still die. And so it was believed there was about like 20 copies of his book that got distributed to different people. And so it doesn't end, sadly. It doesn't end with his death.
No.
Yeah. So it's years after.
That seems like it's like starting to bleed into the Lafferty timeline too.
Yeah, it is, because the next big thing that happens is in 1988. And the Lafferty thing was in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
But also when Ervil dies, it creates an onslaught of violence. Like it escalates violence even more, because suddenly there's this power vacuum, and he's bred all these violent men in his community. So then it literally becomes like a gang rivalry, like shoot off type thing, where leaders are killing each other, and former thugs and former of his like followers are killing each other, trying to get the power.
Wow.
With the power vacuum. So even with his death, immediately there's an onslaught of violence and murders. So even there, you have his legacy of death. And then in 1988, they were called the 4 o'clock murders, because it was on June 27th, 1988, which is the 147th anniversary of the date that Joseph Smith was murdered. So tying that into their religion, 7 people who got a hold of his manuscripts and who still believed in blood atonement and what Ervil had taught them in their religion. There was 7 killers, and they coordinated simultaneously at 4 o'clock for people living in different areas, for people who were on that list, and they killed them.
Wow.
And they like tracked them down and shot them and killed them. There was 3 men and 1 8-year-old girl who she was just with her father was one of the men on the list. And so they were grocery shopping. And at 4:00, that's where they found him. And her name was Jennifer Chenoweth or Chenoweth. And so they killed those 3 men and then Jennifer because she was with her father at the time of the attack.
Like in the grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So that was like one of the final things that about that whole episode and the impact that Ervil had with blood atonement on his community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't
That's
that
wild.
crazy?
Yeah. Like as you're talking about it, I'm like, okay, I've definitely heard like that's huge.
It is huge.
Like the ripple effect of that is huge.
Yep. It is one of the craziest situations that have ever happened with that. And it's just weird because we hear about these kind of things
pretty
happening.
modern.
It is very modern. It's like almost into the 90s when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple years before we were born.
Right.
That happened. And the thing was, it was happening in California, in Mexico, in Utah. He was in a prison. Yeah. Like in Texas, like the fact that's another thing, realizing like he was like 20 minutes away from us, like
no,
it's just wild. So those are the 3 examples of people who have implemented blood atonement in modern times and the horrible, horrible things that have come from it. And next episode, we're going to get into the origins of blood atonement and how this crazy, horrific doctrine even came to be.